We are winding down the preseason. One more preseason game to go. Still got some practices that we're hoping will help us prepare for our opener. And guys are moving along and just working as hard as they can to get better. Hopefully we can just continue to make progress as we are looking forward to this final preseason game and getting a chance to evaluate some young players and veteran players who are fighting for roster spots. Very important week, very important game for a lot of guys.
As much as you can give us on Cam playing safety, is it maybe more to prove his worth more to the roster, or is it in case of injury? Like, as much as you can give, I guess.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of both, Sal. You know, a chance to take a look at a guy who we think is pretty talented and has done a good job for us at the nickel position, and even when we've slid him out at corner at times. But you want to give him every chance possible to make the roster, and by putting him at safety and giving him a look there, I mean, it gives us more exposure just to see what his versatility can actually mean. And so we'll just continue to evaluate him here over the next few days. So.
How about Shaq Lawson, just having him back and what he means to this defense?
Oh, it's great to have him back. I was so happy when he re-signed with our team in the offseason. A lot of good memories with Shaq from his first time here with us, and the way he's performing this preseason really validates in my mind his importance to our football team, not just on the field, but the way he handles things in the locker room, his camaraderie with his teammates. He's a great guy to have around and a force on the football field. He really fits what we do on defense in a lot of ways. So very happy to have him back.
With respect to Shaq's versatility, he was a guy you pick inside his first time here. Has the depth at defensive tackle, though, and the talent you have there now, maybe reduced the necessity of that? Or, I mean, I don't want to get too far into game plan strategy for you, but I'm just, with the depth you have inside, does that change the conversation a little bit?
It could early on, Chris, but as you know, things change for different reasons as the season goes on, and we'll see how it plays out. We know he has the versatility to go back inside and do some things for us, in particular on third down. But we'll see how it all plays out. He's done a really good job now playing the end position, but we know that versatility is there if we need it.
A week ago you said Dane was ahead of Kyer and Christian. Is that still the case? And are you ready to say it all if one of the other two is ahead of each other?
Yeah, I think Dane's experience, along with his talent level, puts him just a notch above the two young rookies that we have. Those guys will continue to progress and get better as we go along, but still believe that Dane is ahead at this point. As far as Kyer and Christian, those guys are battling to be able to give us an option if Tre'Davious is not, active for the Rams game. So we'll continue to evaluate them over the rest of this week, and we'll make a decision about whether or not we're going to play them in this ball game coming up. But it's just an ongoing competition and ongoing evaluation with the both of them.
Now that you've had two preseason games to see of some of the rookies, how would you evaluate Christian Benford's play now that he's had two live games?
Yeah, he's done a good job, Maddie. I mean, he's competed, worked extremely hard in practice. It's still really early in his career, and you just want to continue to put him out there and see how he handles certain situations. But we're pleased with what we've seen up to this point. His tackling, he's been physical, getting his hands on people at the line of scrimmage. He's done a good job in coverage. So we've been really impressed with some of the things he's done. It's just so early. We played two preseason games. We definitely had some practices on our belt, but we got to continue to see him in different situations.
When you add a player of the ilk of Von Miller, you kind of what you're getting as a player, but sometimes in the locker room, you can't really predict that. What has he been like in the room, and has anything surprised you about him?
You're right, Matt. You don't know until you actually get him into your environment what you're getting, even though you've had these extensive conversations, prior to signing. But you don't know until the guy gets around his teammates. You see him interact and how he's going to handle things. Von has been terrific with his teammates. What has surprised me, because I think I mentioned this before, you don't always see the superstar athlete that's willing to sacrifice some of his knowledge at times to help younger players grow and come along and try to get them to where you are. Vaughn has been really, really good about giving back to our players, just sharing knowledge. I mean, I'm looking at him in the classroom today when Eric Washington was taking him through some things, and Vaughn is asking questions and pointing out things to Greg Russo, to Carlos Basham, just almost like a coach in a lot of ways. So his interaction with his teammates has been really, really good. His willingness to share information has been outstanding, and I think that's going to help our entire group. You know, we have expectations obviously for Vaughn, but we want to make sure that other guys are coming along, and he's helping us to grow our young players as well. So.
Is there anything specifically that you feel like you still need to see from Christian Benford and Preseason? Like, are there specific things you feel like they're still missing, or is it just like getting more tape and like with this last preseason game?
Yeah, I think, Alina, for us, it's just a continuing evaluation of their technique and fundamentals, just to see, you know, how they're coming along with some of the things we've been teaching going back to April when we started our off-season program, and just see which guy is really acquiring that knowledge and being able to transfer it to the field best. And we need more views. And fortunately, we got time to get more views, but just a matter now of watching their fundamentals and techniques and how they handle certain situations.
Do you feel like it's a scenario where, you know, Trey's not ready to go for week one or the other has to be picked, or could you see a rotation of sorts at that position? Do you think there's a bunch of things still on the table for that?
Yeah, there's a lot to discuss, you know, prior to then. Once things are settled for sure, one way or another, we'll put everything on the table and make what we think will be a good decision for our team. So, got a little ways before we have to make that decision.
A lot of players in the defensive line are talked about a lot, rightfully so. Bryant, what have you seen from him? Seems like he's flashed a little bit. You guys liked him obviously last year. What have you seen from him this summer?
Brandon, Matt, has grown tremendously over the off season and what he's done through training camp. The way he has played with such physicality and force, I mean, he's a guy that's battling for a roster spot, obviously, and I hope he can, you know, make our roster because he's done a good job on our defensive line. But he's improved so much with his knowledge of the game as well. He's a thinking man's defensive tackle. He understands situations. He's talking situations, and he makes plays. So pulling for him, and really pleased with the progress he's made.
You mentioned the progress and also the mental side of it. Like, what are some things he did to make those improvements?
I think, Catherine, one of the things he's done is really got into the playbook even more so, and just applying that to his position. But he's one of those guys who has not just learned the defensive tackle position. I don't know if you noticed it, but we had him line up at the defensive end position in that ball game against Denver on Saturday. And we couldn't have done that with some guys, but because of his knowledge of our defensive line's play and what we're asking him to do technique-wise, we could push him outside to get us through a situation. So he spent a lot of time in the offseason getting a better grasp of our defensive line play and what we ask of each position. And now, you know, we're seeing that on the field without a decrease in what we ask him to do at defensive tackle.
What was that conversation like? Did you guys say, hey, we can tell that you can play here too, we want to move you around? Was he talking about how he has that grasp? Like, where did that start?
Well, it started with Coach Washington recognizing in practice that he could do it if we had a situation where we needed to get him outside. And we dabbled with it a little bit in practice just to get him outside if we had to have it. And based on the numbers we had on Saturday, we needed him outside, and he did a good job, really good job.
And they're like rock, paper, scissors. Some of those guys you really want to fight for at the end there.
There'll be some of that going on for sure. I mean, I know he has a group that he would like to see make it, and we definitely have a group on our side we'd like to see make it. So there'll be some strong conversations going on for sure. Might have to slip Brandon Bean a $20 bill or something, you know. So.
How would you describe Ken's demeanor?
Ken, you know, Kenny is a cerebral guy, you know, a guy who is thinking about the next play all the time, which is not a bad thing in that role that he's in. Just a really good person. Seems like he has a good rapport with the players and a really sharp mind when it comes to moving on from one play to the next and not dwelling on a good play or a bad play. So, like his temperament, you know, he's really, you don't see it, but he's a fiery guy, deep down inside, he can let you know if things aren't right, and sometimes that needs to be the case. But he has the right demeanor for the job.
Have you ever been fiery?
Yeah, I had some moments, John. My fiery might be different than your fiery, but but there's some fiery moments. Yes, for sure. So.
As Trey comes back from his injury, worked through the rehab process, obviously there's the physical side, but on the mental side, not being able to be on the practice field, being in the trainer's room, how have you seen him kind of deal with that and his recovery on that side of things?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's not just the physical. You're right. The mental component is a big part of it, and we were just talking yesterday in the training room about some of that, and I think he's handling things really well under the circumstances. It's hard. He wants to be out there with his teammates. He wants to be continuously making progress, and with the injury that he has, there are going to be times where you're moving in this direction, and then all of a sudden you could stall, and you got to be able to handle that mentally. And between our training staff and some of the other people that are working with him, I think he's handling things overall really, really well. But it's still very frustrating not to be out there with your teammates preparing on the field. He's doing everything on the side right now, and that can weigh on you over time. But he's handling it, seems like, on the outside, pretty good.